Citation Basics: Understanding Why We Cite. Hello! Welcome to Minerva Moments, a web series produced by the Modern Minerva Tutoring and Editing's Online Writing Lab, or OWL. I'm your host, Vanessa Flora-Nakoski. Today, we'll be looking at the basics of citation. We'll discuss why academic writers use citation, explain several major parts of citation, and briefly introduce the use of style guides. The most common question I get from students is, why do I need to cite? This seems like busy work. And this question makes sense. Citation is pretty mindless and dull. It's probably the least exciting part of academic writing. So why do we bother? Well, citation tells us about our past and gives us a glimpse into the thoughts and attitudes of prior generations of scholars. Everything we might hope to produce as scholars rests on the foundation that they established, and it is only right that we honor their contributions to our own research and conclusions. Acknowledging the contributions of others is called attribution. We do this informally all the time. When talking with friends, we might reference what another person told us, we might quote a line from a movie, or we might explain where we got an idea. For example, I might tell you, just the other day, John was telling me how much he loved that restaurant. He called it the next best thing in fusion cuisine. When I do that, I am making it clear that I do not know about the restaurant from first-hand experience. Instead, I got my information from another source, John. In fact, I use his contributions in two ways: a paraphrase, where I take his ideas and put them into my own words, and a quote, where I take his words directly. We'll discuss the difference between these two in a later lesson. When we want to attribute our sources in scholarly or professional work, we use standardized formats for our attributions. These formal attribution styles are called citation. Having a shared set of formats helps people in those fields quickly and easily recognize the information in the citations. So let's take a look at the parts of citation that are used in academic writing. Almost all citation styles use three basic components: signal phrases, end-text citation, and in-text citation. Signal phrases appear in your sentences themselves, and they must fit into the grammatical and mechanical structure of your sentences. In general, you should use a signal phrase every time you begin using a new source, although you can use them in other situations as well. The signal phrase accomplishes three main tasks. First, it provides the reader with the name of the speaker, the person whose words or ideas you are using. Second, it explains the credibility of that speaker, why the reader should care what they have to say. Third, it begins to establish your attitude towards what the speaker has to say. Should your reader view this information with a critical, accepting, or neutral eye? In the three examples here, the signal phrases appear in bold. The first example demonstrates the use of a signal phrase as an introductory statement. According to Jane Goodall, noted primatologist, tells our readers two things: the name of the researcher we are referencing and her status in the field. Based on this signal phrase, our reader will hopefully trust what we are about to tell them. The second example demonstrates the use of a signal phrase as part of the main clause. Researchers at the Center for Disease Control tells our readers similar kinds of information: the name of the organization we are referencing, and given the credibility of the organization itself, another reason to trust the information. The third example adds a layer to our meaning. Here, we've written, Mark Bittman, chef and cookbook author, flippantly announced. I want to draw your attention to the choice of verb and adverb. While the first part of this signal phrase introduces the speaker and his credibility, our choice of flippantly plants a seed of dislike in our reader. After all, if Mr. Bittman is flippant, then he must not take this topic seriously, and if that is the case, why should we trust anything he has to say? In fact, we might even begin to feel insulted a bit. In doing this, we've changed the way our readers will interpret any information that follows, hopefully guiding those readers to our intended conclusion. The second type of citation appears at the end of your text. There are many names for this type of citation. sometimes called a bibliography, a works cited, or a references page, but they all refer to approximately the same thing. The end text citation accomplishes two main things. First, it helps the reader locate the same version of the source that you read when researching, thus allowing them to replicate your research process. Second, it organizes the sources into a pattern that makes sense in the context of your scholarly field. This organizational pattern will vary based on the scholarly style you use. The example shown here uses the Modern Languages Association style, known as MLA. In this style, the sources are organized in alphabetical order. For each entry, the first line is left-aligned and any following lines are indented. This is known as a hanging indent, and its purpose is to help the reader quickly find an entry. We'll review the specifics of each style in a later lesson, but for now, it's enough to know that all citation styles generally want to know the same basic types of information: author, title, publisher, date, location. Certain styles may require additional information, but these are considered the standard basic details that a reader would need to find a source. The final type of citation appears in text, but does not affect the grammar or mechanics of your sentence. The specific rules about how to construct in-text citation vary widely between scholarly styles, which we'll refer to later in the presentation. For now, it's enough to understand the basic variations. In-text citation exists to help the reader locate the correct entry in your end text citations. You can think of this as a clue that links your essay and your list of sources. If a person looks at the in-text citation, they should be able to determine which source you are referencing. In the examples here, the in-text citations appear in bold. The in-text citations on the left are shown inside parentheses. This style of in-text citation is called parenthetical citation. The in-text citation on the right are found at the bottom of page and numbered. This style of in-text citation is called footnotes. For this style, the number that appears inside your sentence refers to the numbered footnote at the bottom. All of these features serve the same purpose: to leave a trail for future scholars to follow. All of the world's scholarship is grouped into specific fields, which we call disciplines. As a student, you will major in a specific discipline and learn about the rules and best practices of that field of study. Each discipline has its own culture, and so while they will share the same basic features, they will organize their citation information according to their own needs. No matter which style your particular major uses, you will probably first learn to cite in your composition and general education classes. For this reason, you will almost certainly encounter at least one of the three major styles demonstrated here: Modern Language Association, or MLA, American Psychological Association, or APA, and Chicago. In general, MLA style is used by humanities disciplines like English, philosophy, or world languages. APA is generally used by the social science disciplines like psychology, anthropology, or sociology. Finally, Chicago style is used by most historians. For most writing that you might do for a college course, your professor will tell you which style to use. If they do not, ask them to confirm which style and which edition they want you to use. Style manuals are updated regularly by scholars, so it is important to use the most up-to-date information. We'll discuss the specifics of how to use style manuals in a later lesson. However, there are a few questions that you'll want to ask anytime you use a style manual. First, how does the style format the manuscript? This refers to what size margins, fonts, titles, cover pages, etc. you should use when you create the document. Second, how does the style format in-text citations? This refers to not only parenthetical versus footnotes, but also to specifics about how and what to place inside those citations. Third, how does the style format end-text citations? What do they call this portion of the document? How are the entries organized? Next, how does the style distinguish between different media? For example, do they make a distinction between information found in print versus online newspaper? Do they consider textbooks to be different from novels? Some styles are stricter than others. Finally, what fonts and punctuations are used in the end text citations? This is the place where most students make mistakes. Pay close attention to whether the style requires a period or a comma between two types of information, or whether the style wants you to put something in quotation marks or italics. These slight nuances might not seem like much, but they are important parts of the style. This concludes our lesson on citation basics, which has been adapted from work originally produced for Montgomery College. I hope you've learned a lot about the rationale behind formal citation and some of the key features of citation styles. As I'm sure you'll have questions, I hope you come back for another Minerva Moment. For one-to-one lessons, visit me at www.themodernminervatutor.com. And remember, here at the Modern Minerva, we know that no one's native language is academic English.